All right, everybody, we've got 6 o'clock.
Lisa said to hold off. Oh, she's back.
She's here.
Okay.
You had to close early, vote.
Well, I guess I'm presiding tonight, so bear with me.
Hang on, we do the
Roll call.
roll call, and then we need somebody to actually do the motion in a second to decide.
Okay.
Gotta do a roll call.
So we got to roll call first. Okay? Settle down.
I move to Lisa preside.
Okay.
Well, she said somebody needs to make a motion. She didn't say what time.
Roll call. Barnes.
Here.
Dents.
Here.
Diorio.
Here.
Estes.
Here.
Hastings.
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Pickett. Price.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
That wasn't a second, P.E.G. You're trying to be.
I know that.
In absence of Judge Moore, I move we designate Bart Schultz to preside.
I'll second it.
Barnes.
Yes.
Dents.
Yeah.
Diorio.
Yes.
Estes.
Here.
Hastings.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Pickett.
Yeah.
Price.
Yes.
All right. So now that it's official, first off, let's do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Reading, correction, and disposition of the minutes. Anybody want to make a motion on
I'll
that?
make a motion, we accept reading this.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Barnes.
Yes.
Dents.
Yeah.
Diorio.
Yes.
Estes.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Pickett.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the county treasurer's report. Our county treasurer's here.
She was yapping, and I should have been passing out the rest of y'all's report. I'm sorry. Can't be perfect. I can't be perfect all the time. Hey, I fail at that being perfect on a daily basis. There's the rest of the report, guys.
Denise wants to vote on that.
Wants to vote on what? Me being perfect? Hey,
That's what she said.
everybody needs a best friend like me.
You got one like her, you don't need no more.
That's right, I got one, I don't need no more. Everything's holding. We have not got our money yet, but I did get an email from the feds that said that we would get it on or before the same date that we got it in 2021. So that was May the 5th, or May the 20th, excuse me. So, but it has not come yet. So, but everything is holding. I put y'all a little information on there about sales tax. I always compare this year to last year, but we got our smallest sales tax check for the year in April. So that would have been for February sales. So hopefully they'll pick back up and start back up with the warmer weather and the summer fixing to be upon us. But everything's holding, everything's doing well at the moment. Anybody got any questions?
Okay, if there's no questions, we're going to move on to the county and circuit clerk's report. Miss Elisa's here. Y'all got any questions for her? You got anything you need to report?
Early voting's opened with a bang. I think we did 118 or 19 today.
That's great. Any other questions for her? Okay, at this time we'll move on to old and unfinished business. First is a lawsuit, Richard versus Davis.
That's just to make you guys aware that the jail's being sued by this Richard, and he's suing Stephen Davis, who's the jail administrator. He had intestinal issues, and he was not treated properly while he was in the jail. We got that from AAC the other day. I gave it to the sheriff. I don't know if they've had time to discuss it or not. But
There's not been any updates on it since the last meeting, it's just other than it was followed.
Anything further on that? Any questions?
In that case, the jail doctor did look at that patient, and it was handled by our medical team, so it shouldn't be a big issue.
Okay. Moving on, bids on the courthouse fairgrounds, ARP revenue loss fund.
Just to show, before we go into that, why don't we skip forward in the agenda and take care of Adam Weeks so he doesn't have to sit here through this.
Fine with me.
Let him
Uh,
move on.
Do you need to vote on that? I won't vote yes.
However you vote, I'll vote, Judge.
Let's see, well, if it please the court, it's fun to say as a judge, I don't get to say that sort of thing. Thank you all for having me. I think you'll find that there's a line item on your agenda that announces that we got a grant for Lawrence County and Sharp County to share one position to work with the juveniles in my court system. And the position is funded by the administrative office of the courts. And we have a hire that we've made, and she previously was the superintendent of DHS in Lawrence County. Tina Jordan, thank you. I was going blank. And Tina is going to be great. We're super excited to have her. She's got years, decades of experience working with families and all kinds of training. And ultimately what she'll be able to do is work with some of these families that just with a little attention and some direction, we can head off some of the systemic, just generational things. A lot of it's environmental neglect. A lot of it's the deterioration of the family ultimately is what we're dealing with. Children who don't view their parents as parents but more as peers. Once that happens, my goodness, it's so difficult for those parents to reestablish themselves as the parent. And so what she would do is work with those families over an extended period of time to reestablish that parental role and work with them as an objective outsider to help them function better as a family. We've had a lot of success with that sort of thing in DHS, and we're looking to do that in these FINS courts as well. And I think we're going to be successful. We'll find that maybe we can get some of these families going so that we don't have to work with them again. At least that's the goal. So we're super excited. Does anybody have any questions?
it's the ordinance on the very last page of your packet.
Have an emergency clause? I
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
it does, I think it does.
So I'll volunteer to read it if you told me to.
Go ahead.
Let's see. Be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Sharp County, Arkansas, an ordinance to establish a special revenue fund to be called the Juvenile Officer Grant Fund to amend the Sharp County 2022 budget ordinance and to declare an emergency. Article 1, affirmation. It comes before this court that there is a need to establish a special revenue fund on the books of the county to track revenues, expenditures, and other appropriated transfers for the Juvenile Officer Grant Fund issued by the Administrative Office of the Courts. The court recognizes and affirms the need for such a fund to properly account for and control all such revenues received and expenditures made in compliance with all applicable laws and guidance from the Arkansas Legislative Audit. Article 2, establishment of fund. There is hereby created on the books of Sharp County Treasurer and the books of the Sharp County Clerk a special revenue fund to be known as the Juvenile Officer Grant Fund with a fund number of 35 of 30. Article 3, operation of fund. The Juvenile Officer Grant Fund is subject to all the normal county budgeting, appropriation, and expenditure regulations of Arkansas Code annotated Title 14 of the County Financial Management System implemented in accordance with Section 142110. Funds must be used only in accordance with guidelines issued by the fund application. Proper records and documentation must be maintained for audit purposes. Article 4, appropriation. There is hereby appropriated for the Juvenile Officer Grant Fund for the year 2022, the following fund, Juvenile Officer Grant, and then those line items follow with a total of $15,000. Article 5, Emergency Clause. It is found by this court, it is found by this court that the deposit grant assistance funds from the Administrative Office of the Courts, making it necessary to establish the Juvenile Officer Grant Fund in order to be able to properly track the revenue, appropriated expenditures, and the appropriated transfers. Therefore, an emergency is declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after the date of passage and approval. So, there you go.
That's the first reading.
Like, you'll need to read the title again for
All
us.
right, read by title only.
In a moment, in a moment.
All right.
Anybody have any questions before we vote on it?
I move we pass.
Second.
Bill is read.
Todd seconded.
Barnes.
Yes.
Dents.
Yes.
Diorio.
Yes.
Estes.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Pickett.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Schultz.
You,
Am I supposed to vote?
Yes, you can
he
vote.
can vote.
Yeah, I
He
suppose
can
so.
vote. He
Okay,
can
all
vote.
right, yes.
All right, vote.
You just can't enter into the discussion.
I see. Title only.
All right, and an ordinance to establish a special revenue fund to be called the Juvenile Officer Grant Fund to amend the Sharp County 2022 budget ordinance and to declare an emergency.
So that will be the second, suspending the rule, and that's the second reading.
Need a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion. Joe.
Second it, whatever we've got.
Second.
Third reading?
Hang on.
No,
Got to vote again.
Gotta vote.
All right.
Barnes.
Yes.
Dents.
Yes.
Diorio.
Yes.
Estes.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Pickett.
Yeah.
Price.
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes.
An ordinance to establish a special revenue fund to be called the Juvenile Officer Grant Fund to amend the Sharp County 2022 budget ordinance and to declare an emergency.
That would be the third and final reading. So moved.
I make a motion.
Price.
Then second.
Barnes.
Yes.
Dents.
Yes.
Diorio.
Yes.
Estes.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Pickett.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes.
We're gonna adopt the ordinance by title only.
So moved.
Declare, do you want me to read it before?
Yeah.
She's telling me to.
Do you? You do what she said.
All right.
I did for 38 years.
An ordinance to establish a special revenue fund to be called the Juvenile Officer Grant Fund to amend the Sharp County 2022 budget ordinance and to declare an emergency.
Thank you.
And now do you vote on the emergency clause?
We need a move, we need a so moved.
So
Bye.
moved.
I'll move. Can't remember, do I read the emergency clause or do you just vote on it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Barnes.
Yes.
Dents.
Yeah.
Diorio.
Yes.
Estes.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yeah.
Pickett. Price.
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes.
Okay, now we're gonna
Took me-
adopt the emergency clause of ordinance number.
Do you have a number? It's,
Two.
there's not a number on it.
22-7.
10.
-7. So that was the good news.
Hang on.
We're not through.
No, we ain't done yet.
Gotta have somebody
I'll
make
make
a
a motion.
motion.
Price did. And those dents.
Barnes.
Yes.
Dents.
Yes.
Diorio.
Yes.
Estes.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Pickett.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all.
We're ready for the bad news, Judge.
Sounds good.
So yeah, like I was saying, that's the good news. I'm in a bit of a delicate situation in that I have a case in front of me that I cannot talk publicly about it and should not. But my juvenile officers are underneath me and it's their budget. And so for that reason, I'm here to talk about the detention fee budget. Is that what its line item is called? We have spent 23 of the $20,000 you've allocated for that. And it's, the vast majority of that, at the tune of $85 a day, is for a young man that I have in front of me. So to that end, I'll have the chief deputy speak if he has anything to say on it.
Judge is precluded from actually speaking on a case that he's working, but we had a case 9 months ago where Officer Boyd had assisted an 11-year-old kid on the side of the road. The 11-year-old kid had a .357 Magnum pistol in his backpack. It's our belief that he intentionally pulled the pistol from his backpack, intentionally aimed and fired that firearm at the officer. After he fired at the officer, he hid the gun back into his backpack in what we believe is a premeditated motion. Since that time, this juvenile's been in juvenile detention. They have not been able to get him adjudicated, and the judge will talk about that, I'm sure, after this part's over. But he's not a child that we feel that needs to be back out in the general population. His parents have not acted like they wanted to keep the kid from firearms that's inside the home. They refuse to lock their firearms up or to get rid of their firearms in the home. So it kind of puts all of us in a pickle in this situation.
So, in terms of the progression of the case, I haven't been able to reach the point of adjudication because the young man was evaluated for whether or not he was competent to proceed. The state hospital has determined he is not competent to proceed. The state has an amount of time that they can make an attempt to rehabilitate him, and until that happens, I'm without options as to do anything, and so it's a perfect storm for holding us in limbo, counting every day the county is charged $85. And so normally we're very careful with those funds, and I don't expect to be before you often, if very often at all, in regard to going over like this, but it's just a unique situation. And so from what I understand from talking with Ms. Gertman, we would use a budget reconciliation ordinance at some point later in order to make good on the line item. But as of right now, I just wanted to bring that to the court's awareness, let you know that we're in this situation, and tell you that as the judge, I'll do what's appropriate and right, but until such a time as the case moves forward, it's kind of where we're at. So we're going to be over budget.
They need to vote on the fact that they are fine with this, do they not, Elisa? I mean, it could be $2,000.
Explain the situation.
Where are we at on the fund and
Well,
the amount
the
we spent already?
budget detail report for April shows that there's $17,000 in that line item right now. But apparently we owe somebody in Little Rock all of that for this child. I figured it at $85 a day, 365 days, they're looking at $31,000 that this kid could cost Sharp County.
The only thing I can think of is we may need to do like an appropriation to say that when time comes, we will adjust the budget.
Well, like I told him today, you know,
I mean,
we could run it in the red and then do a cleanup on it
right.
with their understanding that this could cost more money than what's in the budget.
Right. I don't know
We have in the past had
I mean, it's been brought to their
detention
attention,
fees
but I
up
don't know
to
if we have to vote on.
36,000.
Just, you know, they need to be aware of what,
I mean, that was not
What was
unusual
trying
to
to
have that. We had I think our budget on that was 35,000 used to be.
We're stuck with the way they do something.
In there
They got 3 months left, right?
a few years.
I've only seen the budget operate during COVID, so I don't have a good grasp on what's typical. So
I don't want to speak for the judge, and he can explain this a whole lot better than I can, but my understanding is the court, since they've not adjudicated him yet, they've got 90 days to get him rehabilitated so they can adjudicate him or take the case back up in some other form or fashion. So it looks like we need to house him for at least 3 months, from my understanding.
Could we have him beyond 3
Is it
months,
possible to
Judge?
have him for 5 years?
I really can't discuss what would happen going forward. And I can only discuss it procedurally, and so, beyond 90 days, I don't know. It's, I suspect that the state will, based upon it being the state hospital, it'll take the full 90 days. Beyond that, I can't tell you.
So what action do we need to take tonight?
I think that the main thing was just, that the judge was coming just to let everybody know that this is the possibilities and let the court be aware of the fact that it's over and it's gonna continue to be over until, you know,
Who knows
it's
what you're
taken
saying.
care of. And then, Wanda and I will work together on working the cleanup budget, is what that'll end up being in.
But our hands is tied.
If I-
Yes.
if
We
I
can't do,
remember
there's nothing that we can do about
Can
it.
I ask this question, did the state hospital ever take over and do anything on a case like that? Or is
I
that
have-
a question out in left field, I don't know.
It's hard to get them in there, I can tell you that, and yes, they can take over and do something, but it's the waiting list and the time, it's very hard to get them in there. I had a few in there in my time, but, it's tough. And there's other facilities as well. And I believe part of this is out of Judge Wick's control, because I believe there's a state statute that says any juvenile that uses a handgun in a crime is to be remanded into the custody of the juvenile detention facility until he is adjudicated. And if judge can't adjudicate him at this time because of competency, then we've got to get that, he's going to have to go through another evaluation to get cleared to stand trial. So,
Until we get to, until it's determined that it's appropriate for me to even hear the case,
yes.
we're in limbo.
Yeah. So it's kind of a catch-22 right now.
Anybody got any more questions for the judge?
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Good to see y'all.
Say it does.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, now back to item 5, bids on the courthouse/fairgrounds ARP revenue loss funds. Ms. Denise, would you like to expound upon
Well, I think
that?
you all have copies of them. You either come by the office or I gave them to you tonight. The very first one that you see is for the fairgrounds. We would buy the necessary material. We would, the grid ceiling and all that for the fiberglass in the education building, and then they would come and install it. Being the pricing, we have to keep everything below $50,000. So any bid that's over that amount, we will purchase the material and then just pay them to install it. So that's the very top one is the one from Precise for the fairgrounds. For $57,847.71. The problem is these bids are good, they're telling me for like 14 days because the prices of material and everything changes, I think hourly by the way they talk. The next, that's the only one I have on the fair, was that one that came in there. The next one is from Precision Heating and Air. That is for the bathrooms, the main bathrooms in the hallway and the ones down by the clerk's office. They gave us a bid and so did McNulty Plumbing. The one that's from Precision Heat and Air does not include a cabinet, includes no mop sinks, and it includes no new drinking fountains. McNulty's gave us 2 bids on the bathrooms. The one is $19,750. The other one is $27,525. The difference between the two is one would be like Wild's Cabinet would make the countertop, and it would be drop-in sinks. The other bid is would be a solid countertop and sinks, molded together. Mr. McNulty said he didn't see the extra $8,000 was necessary. He thought that the $19,750 would be very adequate. That's the drinking fountains and mop sinks. That's electric eyes on all the toilets and on the sinks. Like when you go to Walmart, you put your hand under there and sometimes it comes on and sometimes it, but it's all that. And
Chuck?
What's the next bid, Chuck?
Chuck?
Well, I don't know if we go-
And then if you go to quality flooring, we've already accepted
Yes.
those bids. We've ordered the flooring.
Don't say.
They're gonna deliver it and put it, it should be 12 pallets, and they're gonna put it back here in the Sally Port, and we will pay for the flooring when it gets here. And more than likely, they will not start that project till July.
I mean, on the back there.
But I don't know if you guys have looked around this courthouse
No bid procedure.
and all the stuff that is in our offices, all the file cabinets, all, if you've been back in the back of the clerk's office. There is no, I mean, I hate to say, it, there is no humanly way possible for a company to come in, move all that stuff out, put the glue down, which has to sit for 24 hours, come back in, put the flooring down, let it dry, and get all that equipment back and stay open for business. So, I've talked to Elisa, and we're thinking of just running the tile to that vault, the second vault door. There's no need to put it on that flooring and, you know, move all those cabinets and all the, and Elisa was in agreement with that. But what we will probably have to do is we might have to close an office early on a Friday, get everything moved out so they can come in Friday night and start and have it ready for us to move everything back in Monday. Because the liability of a company coming in and moving all our computer equipment and all that stuff, they can't take that liability. You know what I mean? They're just gonna have, and we're hoping if we do it in the daytime, we can get some prisoners to come over here. We talked to the sheriff and we talked to Aaron, and they said, help us get everything out and then be here first thing Monday morning to help us get everything back in. Because otherwise, there's no way that this will ever get done.
Sound like a plan.
So when I talked to the carpeting people, or the flooring people the other day, that was sort of, but I just want to make you guys aware that we might be closing some offices early on a Friday or whatever day. And then they would work on it over the weekend, and then they'd be late opening on Monday in order to get everything back up and running. So as long as you guys were okay with that.
Is it kosher for me to ask a question since I'm running the meeting?
Go ahead.
Well, back to the bids on the bathrooms.
Okay?
Well,
No, I'm just a secretary, so.
I know, but we're not bidding apples to apples here. I mean, so I don't see how we can accept one bid when there's different stuff in each bid. You know what I'm saying?
But
I-
they were all told,
They were all told.
what we.
Okay, well, that was the question I was leading up to. They were all,
And I even attached, you know, an email on this precise, I don't know if I put it in there or not, where I asked them, you know, received your estimate, I surmise this is all 4 bathrooms. Does this include the countertop sinks and also include a large utility sink in the main bath, you know? And they never called me back, so I called them and asked them, and they told me no, that it did not.
So Precise intentionally left off some of that.
Right, but I didn't know that till I sent them an email, and then I ended up having to call them and verify that the stuff
So
is not on
is
this
this
bid.
their final bid?
Yeah, they never, because that email is dated back, that was April 22nd, you know, so they've had more than enough time to, and they're the ones that were very adamant that it was good for 14 days, and that was it, and I told them it wouldn't be presented within 14 days.
Denise, did you say that one on McNulty, the first one, was including the water fountains?
Yes, it includes the mops and the water, but it just says, except mop, sink, and water coolers, because those aren't gonna have electric eyes.
Oh,
Because the statement is all fixtures include
okay.
electric, but yes, that does include, and it has, as it shows pictures of them in the back.
So option 2's got electric eye on the mop sink and the water cooler.
No,
For $8,000 difference.
no, there's no electric eyes on the mop sink or the water coolers.
But the option 2 had the one
Yes, sir.
sink cabinet all
Yep.
molded together.
All molded together,
And then the other one was a cabinet with a drop-in.
yes, sir.
You the carpenter. I think.
You can't buy them water coolers real cheap.
No, I mean,
And since they didn't send, I mean, it's hard to put apple to apple, like he said, since they didn't send it, but if they don't want to bid it.
they don't
then
want
we
to bid it
want
evidently.
that's not a lot different from the price. You know what I'm saying?
So it appears to me we either need to throw out the precise bid or we need to rebid the whole thing, one or the other.
Hadn't we?
Well,
bid
she
this 2 or 3
emailed
times
them,
already?
she emailed them and they didn't contact.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but I see
mean,
that's our two options.
I think.
You know, if they don't respond,
Well, I make a motion, you make a motion.
second motion.
Which one?
Motion's been made and seconded that we use the McNulty bid.
Let's define.
Option
which
one.
option.
Which one?
19,000 or 27,000?
Option one,
Yes.
Option is first one.
The 19,000.
19,700.
the option one on McNulty would be within 4,000, that other one. And they don't wanna bid them, so I mean, and we want them, so.
Mhm.
It's been made and seconded.
They're going, what about that other bid that, the fairground? We're gonna use precise on it? Is that what we're,
Well, they were the only one that bid
they
it.
was the only one that bid it.
Are you gonna do
And it was
each
under the
one
limit, right?
individually?
Are we gonna do them individually?
I'm sorry, sir?
It's,
The fairground.
Yeah, I think we need to.
Local limit.
well, she said we would buy the materials. Isn't that correct? If the bid was over 50, we would just buy the materials to get,
To
Right,
keep it
because see,
under
we've
50?
advertised and we can't find a general contractor.
Mhm.
So now we've had to go to individual.
Well, we go ahead and vote on
Who made the motion? I'm sorry,
I
who
made,
did that?
I made the motion on McNulty,
Okay,
option one.
who's the second?
Second, I just did.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say something before you vote?
No.
Can I say one more?
yes, ma'am.
This does not include the tile work.
Right.
I have no bids on tile work. McNulty can't hold this bid open forever. So we will have to go ahead and order this equipment, and I will still have to keep trying to get somebody to come in and do the tile work. I had a gentleman come the other day, and he told me he'd get me a bid, but I haven't gotten one back from him yet.
Well, we took her end date off of it, didn't we? Just
Right.
because we was having trouble getting people.
Well, this is one
Okay,
of Mike's,
so-
this is one of Mike's, and he may have not understood it, she called him back and he still didn't want to bid it, so I don't know what else to do, you can't make him bid it.
No,
Well, okay, we have voted to accept McNulty option one on the bathrooms.
Well, we have.
With the understanding-
we got a motion and a second.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get us back on track here.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're ready to vote.
Barnes,
Yes.
Dents,
Yes.
Diorio,
Yes.
Estes.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Pinkett.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes. Okay, the ceiling tile bid on the first page from Precise for the fairgrounds. That's the only bid we've got.
And that includes everything but the roll-up window that they wanted in the kitchen and a door to closing off the front to the kitchen. And Mr. James French is aware of that.
He's good with that?
Yes.
And this is us furnished the materials.
Correct.
Okay. I make a motion, we accept.
I'll second.
Is that on the precise heating?
Yes.
Yeah, the Precise heating on the ceiling
Fairground.
tile at the fairgrounds. Motion was made and seconded.
And, you know, includes a lot more than just the ceiling tiles.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's all electrical work and everything, we just have to wait on it.
Give us just a second.
Barnes.
Yes.
Dents,
Yes.
Diorio,
Yes.
Estes.
Yes.
Hastings.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Pinkett. Price.
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes. Okay.
And one more. At the very end. We have a bid from John Shands for the overhangs here on the courthouse. He gave us a quote for the vinyl and for the aluminum. Vinyl was $51,000, aluminum was $64,000 for materials and labor. We would have to buy the material on that, and they would provide the labor.
This is on the bid.
And I'm telling you, I've called people and everybody's just busy or,
$7,000 difference.
What's the material and what's the labor?
What do you think we ought to go?
13,000.
57 and 64.
and some of the consensus has
Oh, I
been
thought
to
that's
go with the
51.
aluminum because it's gonna hold
Oh,
up better
that
with all the
may
rocks
be, it may
and
be. Is that
heat
7?
and.
Is that
roofing
51 or
and-
57?
51.
Okay.
Chuck, what's your opinion on these bids?
Who is this bid from?
John Shands.
Oh, John Shands.
This John Shands bid, what's your opinion on which material we ought to or use? There's 13,
Well, I know we talk money, but I'd hate to see aluminum soffit put up on this building.
You'd rather see vinyl
I'd rather see, I don't wanna see vinyl. I'd rather see aluminum, or I wouldn't care if they bid on, we do a lot of this roofing metal, only put it on there, and it's a lot more reasonable than this vinyl, this aluminum. And it turns out, you see the screws, but
That looks good though.
it looks good. But I'd be very much against vinyl,
Yeah, me too.
because it does this real bad.
Yes, it does.
So,
Pretty big overhang too.
Oh, they'll have to do a bunch of blocking in.
so is your advice to get a bid to use that metal or to go with this
To
aluminum?
check on the price. of
My
it.
advice would be him, if he does, let him give us a bid on using metal, colored metal.
I agree.
And you can have them roll it backward. We had some here a while back. They can roll it backwards where it'll look, you can put it up either way. The color down, or. But it's whatever you want to do, but
Well, you're the expert.
Yeah.
Opinions from the court?
I'm with Chuck on it. I think we ought to let him have an option.
I do too.
Scratch vinyl and give us an option on
roll.
no 29 gauge or
Metal.
roofing metal.
roofing metal.
Do it, I don't think we have. to
It does
vote
look
on that.
good. I will say that.
Yeah, it does.
look
We
good.
don't have to vote on that, she said.
Right. Okay.
So that's gonna be a rebid.
Oh, roll over. Roll over.
You got any questions, Miss Denise?
No, so am I gonna tell Mr. McNulty to go ahead and order the supplies for the bathrooms?
Mm-hmm.
And then anticipate trying to get somebody to come in and do the tile?
Yes.
I think that's it.
Okay.
We're not gonna get on the fairgrounds on the concessions now.
Not on the concession stand, no, nothing really needed done. Oh, for the rodeo arena? No, sir.
Okay.
We didn't get one on the Patrick building or on the rodeo arena. But that doesn't mean we're not done, we're still working on it. I mean, supposedly people are going to, we haven't yet.
Yeah, I just thought, I didn't know what y'all wanted or not.
No, sir.
Okay, if that's all on the bids, we'll move on to new business. County Court Order appointment of Equalization Board members.
You missed one.
Oh,
You missed-
Flooring.
Oh, what'd we miss?
Flooring.
Flooring? Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, you're good.
you're good.
Was
I
our-
thought we approved that.
We done approved it.
Yeah, we approved the flooring last meeting, didn't we?
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. You guys can see back here the Barry Ferris, term 20 to 23. Jason Fuller, term 2021 to 2024. John Beller, 2021 to 2024. Randy Ratliff, 2016 to 2025. And Kathy Johnson, 2016 to 2025. The judge makes those appointments, correct? Okay. This is
That's
just for,
just to let.
yeah, just to let you guys know. Are there any questions on that? Okay. Next order of business is Safe Night Ministries ARP funding. Miss Karen Bagwell.
Give y'all one of these. I think y'all are special. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And she's getting the video ready. My name is Karen Bagwell. I'm with Safe Night Ministries. This is my associate, Ariva Oric, and Casey Cates. Safe Night Ministries was established in 2021 in March. It started out as a rescue program, just putting domestic violence victims in hotels and helping them to get to an open center. We have expanded now, based on what has been needed in our counties, to an all-out outreach, where we have an outreach open and we can do all kinds of things, which we'll talk about later on. In just 14 months, we've done this. I know the last time we were here, we talked about we were so young, but what we want to stress to you is how much was actually accomplished and grown in that meantime. Our mission statement: Safe Night Ministries for Domestic Violence Victims focuses on reaching out to and protecting domestic violence victims while meeting their immediate needs and empowering them to move forward into a safe, secure future for themselves and for their children. The important things in that are protect and empower. What we do with these ladies is we give them options that they don't have at present. I just want to share with you what one of our support group ladies said just recently. She said, "I often thought I shouldn't have left. Maybe getting beaten up twice a month was not that bad. Because when I left him, I had no options. I lived in Sharp County. There were no resources for me. I couldn't feed my kids part of the time, and I didn't have the things I needed." That really upset me when I heard that. I've told that to several people in the county, and it is. It's something that really upsets us. These ladies should have options. They really should. And tonight, we're going to give you a chance to help these ladies to have those options.
So, we just wanted to talk about the impact that COVID-19 had on domestic violence and on Safe Night Ministry. So, if you understand the cycle of abuse, there's a honeymoon phase, and then it goes into a tension building stage, and then an explosive stage. And I explain that because it's important to understand that during COVID, individuals were trapped in their homes. You know, we were on a lockdown, so they moved through those cycles much faster. And statistics, we don't have all the data in yet, but based on the numbers, we believe that COVID really impacted those numbers in a big way. And for Safe Night, it impacted us. You know, we were trying to grow a ministry to help these individuals, and we weren't able to fundraise. We weren't able to provide the services. You know, to meet with somebody individually, we can build a relationship with them, and then we can meet their needs. And that was put on hold at times. We managed to open a support group, and at the height of it here in Sharp County, we had to close that down at times too, because the numbers were high. So COVID has made an impact on us. We weren't able to do those fundraisers to get us a building, but we also provide a lot of other support. You know, when victims are fleeing, you know, we might give them a gas card to help them get, you know, away from that abusive individual. And so fundraising is a big part of what we need to do, and COVID really put things like that for us. And we didn't have adequate space for social, you know, distancing, so we weren't really able to provide as many services as we would have liked to. So those are just a few of the ways that COVID impacted us.
We'll go to the impact that we've actually been able to have, and we're going to focus on this year, January to April. We started a Facebook page, and it's very encouraging. It's a way for survivors and victims both reach us. We have messages that they can leave and we can contact them back and speak with them. Sometimes a video chat, but mostly just message back and forth. And we've had 34 of those private messages where people have reached out to us, basically asking for help or what they can do about certain situations. We have had, during that time, 15 crisis calls, and I just had another one today before I came here. So it's fairly often, just so you know. We've had several informational calls. As far as the support groups, and I just love those so much, I wish you could just see one. But we've had 26 to actually register. We had 6 that were too afraid to come afterwards because of COVID, just so you know that impacted all of that a lot also. Right now we have 11 people that are signed up within our support groups that we meet every Thursday night. The Facebook page has 600 followers, so we do have some community support going on. We have a lot of people on there that will ask what they can do to help us, to donate, or just to volunteer. I truly, when I go home, at least once a week, I find a basket of things on my doorstep, of just personal care items or something that they want me to disperse. Some of the JPs from Fulton County are actually bringing me things. They bring me fresh eggs. They bring me sweet potatoes. One of them is actually volunteering at our outreach. We base what we think we're going to reach in our outreach on an outreach place in Berryville. It's near Eureka Springs, because it's one of the few that we really know about. We're a little bit different in what we're doing there. And they say that they usually have 10 people come in a week that come in for different kinds of services. It's not always we're trying to get away. Sometimes it's just I need clothing, I need food for my kids. And they told me that's usually 10 a week, so that'd be 520. And that's what we project for our area also, for us to impact is 520. And I can tell you that last week we had 5 visits. So we're getting there. We just opened in the middle of April.
So I just want to share a few things. So Arkansas ranks number 13th in the U.S. in domestic violence. And, you know, I don't know about y'all, but I was real glad to see that we weren't number 1. But 13 is still way too high. There's an estimated 10 million people that experience domestic violence in the U.S. I am I'm a victim advocate for Izard and Fulton County. So those numbers are real easy for me to look at. And so crime-related cases that have a victim in it, those 2 counties, it falls at 50% of the crime. That's pretty high. So I also was able to, we asked the Sheriff's Department here to help us out. And so from January to April, in all 3 counties, we were able to get those numbers. But first I want to tell you the numbers right here in this county. There were 41 domestic calls right here in this county from January until the last day of April. 41. There were 36 orders of protection filed here in this county alone during that time frame. Those numbers are huge. You know, so when you take the numbers and you put them together, in all 3 counties there was 87 domestic violence calls. There were 13 of those calls were felonies. 5 of them were sexually related crimes, and there were 54 orders of protection for 3 counties from January to April. So to me, those numbers are really huge. And the statistics show us that only 25% of individuals are actually making those calls. So if you think about that, those numbers are just way too high. and people aren't making those calls because there's not a service here. And that's what Miss Karen and I have come together to do. We have a great group of ladies that are working with us, and we just need help. We need y'all's help.
We really do. I want to focus a little bit more on the weekly support groups because I think that's been so important. That's where we've obtained most of the realization, the revelation of what these ladies actually need. Like that first lady, I mean, she told us what they needed. Well, we can't have them, we can't be saying, get out of there, get out of that situation, and then not being there to support these ladies in any way whatsoever. We're already having to send them off if they have to be in a shelter, because we don't have that here. So what the outreach has allowed us to do is to keep clothes for them, gas cards, keep food. We have so many resources since we started this. The mission is working with us to get us food for them. All of the food banks have reached out to us. We have several stores that will let us go in and shop for our clients for free. And we just have to give them these options. The support group is faith-based, if y'all didn't catch that. It's a 16-week lesson plan, basically, and they're learning how they should be treated and that they're worthy to be treated correctly. They're also learning things like the red flags of domestic violence, what to watch for, and how not to get back in the situation again. And so it's a really great thing until we actually get the home. And then all of this would be put into that also. We would keep the outreach for the survivors, though, for sure. What we do basically, even in that, is to protect and empower, just like in our mission statement. This is more for the people in the crowd, I think. Your support is so important to us. If you ever want to volunteer or donate, please just reach out to us. Every little thing that they see, the victims and survivors see that you're doing, is so important to them. But they make statements to me all the time. I saw that on Facebook, so-and-so commented on that. People do care, so that's really important to me. We came here a few months ago, and we were given some suggestions about what to do. And we took that, and we went with it. We did go to the other counties. We went to Fulton County. They've given us $23,180 to run our outreach for the next year. I thought that was pretty awesome. We went to Izard County, and that didn't go as well. They didn't care to help us at that time. And I'll let Aretha explain that to you because she understands the situation better.
Well, so there was a program in that county, and the county supported it. It struggled, and eventually it closed. And the county had put money into it, so they have a little bad taste in their mouth. But we are planning on going back and presenting where we are now. And you know, I gotten a call the day after we presented, and it was really a nice call that I got. He said, you know, I'm sorry it didn't go well, but we are welcome back. So we're going to go back and present to them again.
One of their biggest things was that the home closed. And this is what I've tried to tell them. Churches closed, restaurants closed eventually, even though they might have been quite prosperous and done a good job at one time. If you were saved in a church, in a Baptist church 17 years ago, and it shut down 3 years ago, you're still saved. If you had your anniversary dinner at the restaurant that closed down 3 years ago, you still had that. You still have that memory. So how many people did they have to help? How successful did they have to be while they were open for you to not say they failed because they closed down?
And the thing to remember here is that the service is still needed there. It's still needed in all three of these counties. Just because that program didn't make it, you know, didn't take away from the fact that there's still a need.
In your pamphlets, you have a budget for our outreach, and it kind of tells you what all we have. We couldn't have done as much as we're doing without their help, without Fulton County's help.
Before you go over that too much, I think that we have a video.
Oh, let's see that video.
We have a video of a couple of gals that come to our support group. And so we just want you to see what the impact of the services that we are providing have made.
I few months ago, I had nothing. I had a backpack full of clothes for my son, a few toys, and a few of my own clothes. I had been in the woods freezing to death with my son, and by the grace of God, we were able to find shelter. But we still needed the necessities, the basics, and I was not allowed to go back and get food. I was not allowed to go back and get toiletries. I had been cut off from a mobile home that my ex and I had shared jointly, and I'm thankful to everybody that provided the toiletries, the necessities. Somebody even provided a refrigerator for me and my son. And I'm meeting a lot of other women out here in the same situation, and they don't have these things. They're not able to find homes. They're not able to find shelter or the basic necessities like I was. So I want to say thank you to everybody that would reach out and help support us and reach us in our darkest time.
For me, when I started coming here, it was a lot more about the healing process. I had already, made up my mind. It's pretty, cut in stone when it's your first child and you see your partner put their hands on a defenseless baby. That's just, it changes something in you, I think. And so by the time that I started going to the group, I was already mentally done with him. I knew I wasn't going back. So it was a lot more about breaking that cycle and building the things in me so that I didn't go back into that, and I build healthy relationships with just not romantically, but even friendships. I had toxic relationships. And so it's just about building me back to who I can be at my full potential. One big thing that people don't realize is a big thing with being in a relationship with someone that's abusive is it's not continuous. You break up because either they dismiss you or you get strong enough to leave, but usually they pull you back in or something happens, you end up back in that situation. And on average, that happens at least 7 times that you go back.
And Safe Night Ministries explained that to me, and I was on my 3rd round, and it gave me the strength to say no before we made it a 4th.
It was 5 or 6 for me, so.
Basically, we're here because Sharp County desperately needs a women's shelter. We need that in our area. We do, for these women. If we put this support group type of stuff into a home where we can keep them and teach them, get them back into the workforce or educate them, get them ready to go back into the workforce and be productive citizens in Sharp County, Fulton County. And we can do that. We put the same things into the home and reach out to them more. We're asking for the money to purchase a residential home and the closing cost to make it into a safe house, $129,088. And we would love to answer any questions that you have.
Forgive my faulty memory, but how is your organization structured? I mean, are you a nonprofit? Do you have a board of directors? I can't remember.
We do. We're a 501c3, tax exempt, and we do have a board of directors.
Wonder, are we talking about money that's yet to come when we're talking about this?
Yeah. Yeah, it would be our money that we're expecting this month.
Right. And Fulton County gave us that money that will be coming the next time, a few
Apparently,
weeks ago.
what Fulton County did was give you your first year's annual operating budget.
They
Yes.
did. They
Yeah.
did.
Is that as far as they committed to?
Yes.
That's all they have committed to at this point. But we plan to have a relationship with all the counties. I think that's very important.
I don't mind speaking what I feel about it, if anybody's interested in hearing. I know as much about orders of protection as you do. I was clerk long enough, I've done them personally. I've run people all around, up and down the hall, up and down the highway, taking care of battered women, hiding children. Lisa, y'all still do them now, or you got somebody? Clerk's office is doing all the intake on orders of protection. The part that concerns me is the closing part. I don't have any problem voting for the amount of money that you've asked for. But I think that we need to secure our money. I've talked to a lot of people about this. I was actually getting pushback on it, not wanting county funds spent on it. They don't understand this is not county funds. But here's what I propose that we do. That we give you the $124,900, whatever it was, with provisions on the deed that the county has a proprietary lien on that property. That during the time that you have the property, you can't mortgage it or encumber it in any form or fashion without 2/3 majority vote of this body. That any additions or improvements made to the property stay with the property should it close. And finally, should it ever fail to be used for what it's intended, that it has to close and y'all have to quit and lock the doors and leave, the county, the ownership will cheat to the county, and the county will sell the property and redistribute thank you, the money to qualifying agencies. That's the terms and conditions I have for voting for your program, and I'm totally for your program. I just don't want to lose our investment.
Sure.
The investment. And deeds can have terms and conditions. This is basically a restricted covenants.
Well, I really feel like we need to have a relationship with our county, and I actually thought of that before. I have. So if we got ready to sell and get a bigger place, we would need to come back to you with this is what we want to do.
Right, exactly. Because we would be our primary lien holder against the property.
We could do that.
Anybody want to straighten me out on anything?
Unless you want to give us more. We'll take it. Because we are going to have to fill this
What, did
hole.
I act too easy about it?
Well, I know you can do that because I've seen it done now, so I know you
Yes.
can do that.
No,
Mr. Barnes?
I just was going to offer my support to what Tommy said, because we've already encountered a deal.
Yes, we have.
Where, and so this would take care of any questions about that, and probably there's some of that with the reason why Iser is hesitant to help as well. And so that's a good suggestion.
Are we talking about this ARP money?
Yes.
Or,
All right, if something happens, this is auditable through 2031. If something happens, I'm not saying it's going to, but if it did, what's that going to do, the money that we tie up? Where we at on this deal?
Aren't you giving it
And
to
an
a
audit.
nonprofit?
we're going to redistribute it to a qualifying nonprofit.
Well, I didn't know what the audit would do to us. That's the only thing.
Gotcha. I thought of that too, but by the time that happens, I think they can survive long enough that audits will be over and they probably never
Well, I
know
hope,
it.
yeah, everybody wants it to do that.
Well,
but,
Larry's not here, and I don't have a question, I'm not against you at all, but I'm talking about our liability on this. If something happens at that house, and we own that house, or we're on
We're
the
a
top of
lien
that house,
holder.
we need to check with our lawyer and stuff before we just go to.
I think that would be prudent, is to bring our county attorney in and make sure this is all kosher.
County attorney.
And I also was gonna make that subject too. Larry called me and said Carolyn feeling real bad and to call him if we need him. Now, we can call him now or we can,
Well, I'm saying we don't have to do it tonight, do we?
no,
No,
the money, we don't
The
have.
money ain't
Let's-
here anyway.
Right.
I don't
So-
think we need to appropriate the money till we have the money in the first place. But when we do,
I don't wanna sound like I'm against it, but I'd like to know the.
I'm sure.
Well, yeah, we don't need to step off at anything till we're
What's
sure.
in that house and something go wrong in that house and.
the thing about it is, Chuck, we don't own it. We just have a mortgage against
Well-
it. Or
We're a lien holder.
Mr. Dance,
You have on there that they have to maintain
The insurance.
insurance and liability insurance and
That's going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
So is-
that-
Is everybody on the court in agreement that we need to consult
Yes.
the county attorney and then come back next month?
But
Money will be
are
here.
we, just for clarity, are we saying that if all those conditions are met, that we're gonna give them the money?
Well, we'd have to put it to a vote at that time.
Yeah, we would.
I'll be voting for it under those terms and conditions.
And I would be voting for it under those terms and conditions.
Would y'all like to go ahead and vote? We've got a lot of people waiting to find out.
You know, really, we
That's
can't.
about as much of
I
a,
would like to say something. I've been sitting here just listening.
Uh-huh.
I would have never I always wondered why a woman would go back, getting the tar beat out of her.
It's
I mean, and I've been in the middle of this, not my home, but some of my family, where the husband has beat the living tar out of them. And we didn't, at that time, we didn't have the education to know what to do and didn't have nobody to help. And finally, we just come to the point and told her, said, he's gonna kill you if you don't leave.
Yeah.
She'd go back, get beat, and you know, we could have stepped in and worked him over, and that's what I wanted to do, really. But, I understand what you're doing, and I appreciate it, because, you know, being in the ministry, I mean, we see a lot of this.
yeah.
We see a lot of this, and I don't, you know, I'm not qualified to help somebody, but I'd be qualified to point somebody in the direction they need to go. You see what I mean? If we have it, if we don't have it, we don't have anything.
All right, and you're welcome to do that. And if you would like, I have some tapes for church leaders concerning domestic violence I can email to you, if you'd like that.
And I was just wondering, what if I get abused? Is that?
Yeah.
They got one at
There,
Bacon.
yeah, there's one in.
Well, I just thought I'd throw that
In
in.
Baxter County, but I'll make sure you get down there.
I'll tell you, this county had a bad taste in their mouth on account of what happened over there, because I talked, me and Kevin talked to the sheriff one time, and we saw him at different times, but that they have a very bad taste in their mouth on what happened over there. And it's gonna be a little while before they get over it, because they got railroaded, you know, railroaded, or what you gonna call it. And that's why,
Well, we will go back. We'll go back with a specific request for furniture or something for the home.
Well,
Okay, well,
Even if we get the money, you can come back to Quorum Court every so often and give what's going on.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
we'd love to do
because
that.
that would
we
probably
might
need to
need
be rolled
help.
into it.
probably so.
You know, you come
Yeah,
back, but, you know,
We would love to do that.
We want to work with the county. That's important to us. We want to work with the sheriff's department. That's
Well,
well, if you
important
don't
to us.
keep awareness, people will forget about it.
That's right.
I got a double, that's right. You see what I'm
That's the same as amen.
I'm fixing to be the Adam Weeks here with the bad news, and that is, I'd just soon not hear from you. I'd rather you just go out there and function, because
Well, that's right too, but the
you'll
thing
be-
about
you'll
it
be coming-
is,
they'll be coming back here wanting money.
Yes, sir. we will.
I agree with
We
you,
will.
but you gotta keep an open mind and understand people have a tendency to forget stuff. You know, and if you come back and get
That's what I
money,
want to do.
you come back and get money, we won't give it to you.
Okay, so that's where we're at. Well, the county will contact the lawyer, and by next month, we should know the
We'll
ins and
have-
outs of
should
this.
have the terms and conditions
So should I hear from you, or should I come back next time?
Next meeting.
next.
Just come back next meeting.
The money
All right,
will be
we'll
here
be
when
here.
we can.
You can come back, Tommy didn't mean that.
What? No, I did want to address one thing, if you don't care.
Well,
The men thing, in our outreach, I will be glad to meet with any men. that-
I was just joking.
I'm serious.
I
I've been
know,
asked
but
that.
I've had it seen it happen.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you guys get that, is there any way we could go ahead and get that so we could take it back to our board and approve it with our board
The
before
terms
we
and-
come,
the
the
terms
terms
and
and conditions?
Yeah, yeah.
It
We
should
maybe
be.
get it ahead of
Yeah.
time.
Well, yeah, you guys should, as soon as we get something, we'll get it to y'all.
That way we can take care of it at our end, if you ever get back to say.
Yeah, yeah.
You
You
might
good
have
with that?
an inside track on that.
I'm answering for you kinda here, but
I probably would. But I'm not sure if I can hurry that meeting any more than you can.
Throw your weight around.
all right, well, thank y'all very much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Y'all have a lovely evening.
Y'all too. Okay, any announcements? Okay, if there's no one, go
I
ahead.
don't have an announcement. nobody else does, I would just like to commend our clerk's office for the way that they effectively run our elections. It's not that way in every county. I probably have some phone calls about voter irregularities in other counties. So I want to personally thank our clerk for the way we run our elections here. I know, but it's gone great.
It sounded
We had
good.
phone calls though.
Any other announcements?
I can tell you this about our clerk. Any time along the way that I was clerk, that if she had said, I'm giving my 10-day notice, I would have given mine. Because those elections and things like that don't just happen. Without-
We appreciate you. We got any comments or questions from the public? Absolutely. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? So moved. We're out of here.